Hello and welcome. Today, we're embarking on an in-depth exploration of why Rishi Sunak's policies are widely perceived as failures. Now, I know what you're thinking. Arif, delving into British politics, has your visa expired? But fear not, my friends, this isn't just about some bloke across the pond with an incredibly punchable face. This is about the intricate policies he's enacting and how they reflect a broader trend of political missteps. Because let's be honest, whether you're in London or Los Angeles, we're all feeling the pinch of, well, everything these days. So buckle up, grab a cuppa if you're so inclined, and let's meticulously dissect the curious case of Rishi Sunak and his political woes. Right then, let's start with the cornerstone of any functioning society: public services. You know, those essential things like healthcare, education and transportation that keep a country from descending into utter chaos. Sunak's been absolutely slated for his handling of these, and frankly, it's not hard to see why. It's almost as if he's treated the entire UK like a failing investment bank, trying to cut costs and maximize efficiency without any regard for the human cost. The NHS, bless its cotton socks, is a perfect example. It's been chronically underfunded for years, and Sunak's answer? More austerity. Because apparently the best way to fix a leaky pipe is to just ignore it and hope it magically fixes itself. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. And don't even get me started on his approach to education. He's essentially treating teachers like they're contestants on The Apprentice, pitting them against each other for scraps of funding, while simultaneously saddling them with more responsibilities than a single parent with octuplets. It's enough to make you want to weep into your PG tips. Look, the bottom line is this: public services are the backbone of any decent society, and right now, under Sunak's watch, that backbone is looking about as sturdy as a wet baguette. Now, let's talk about transparency, shall we? Or rather, the distinct lack thereof when it comes to Sunak's government. See, one might think that a leader, particularly one in a democratic society, would be keen on keeping the public informed about, the decisions that directly impact their lives. But apparently that's not how they roll in Sunak's Britain. It's all very cloak and dagger, with policies announced seemingly on a whim, with about as much forethought as a drunk text at 2 a.m. And when questioned about the logic behind these decisions, crickets. Or worse, a load of waffle that wouldn't be out of place at a political tea party hosted by the Mad Hatter himself. This lack of transparency breeds distrust, plain and simple. When people feel like their government isn't being straight with them, it's no wonder they start questioning everything. It's like being in a relationship with someone who refuses to tell you their phone password. Sure, there might be a perfectly innocent explanation, but the doubt still lingers. And let's not forget about accountability, or rather the lack of it. Sunak's government seems to have a remarkable talent for dodging responsibility, blaming everything from global pandemics to the wrong type of rain on their own failings. It's enough to make you wonder if they'll soon be blaming the fairies at the bottom of the garden for the state of the economy. Right, let's talk about Sunak's track record with policies, shall we? Specifically, his apparent inability to implement a policy that doesn't end up about as popular as a vegan sausage roll at a sausage fest. And nowhere is this more evident than in his dealings with the north of England. See, Sunak seems to have this idea that he can win over the north with a few shiny infrastructure projects and a promise to level up the country. But here's the thing. People in the north aren't stupid. They can see right through the empty rhetoric and the photo ops with hard hats. They know that true levelling up requires more than just a fresh coat of paint on a dilapidated building. It requires investment in public services, in education, in job creation. It requires addressing the deep-seated inequalities that have plagued the region for decades. And frankly, Sunak's policies have done little more than slap a band-aid on a gaping wound. The result? A growing sense of resentment and disillusionment among those who feel left behind and ignored by the very government that claims to represent them. And honestly, who can blame them? It's like promising someone a gourmet meal and then serving them a plate of cold beans on toast. Sure, it's technically food, but it's hardly satisfying. Now let's talk about something that's close to my heart, or at least what's left of it after witnessing the environmental carnage unfolding across the globe: climate change. And more specifically, Rishi Sunak's rather flexible approach to tackling it. You see, one day He's all about green energy and saving the planet. The next he's approving new oil and gas drilling projects like they're going out of fashion. It's enough to give you whiplash or perhaps a severe case of climate anxiety. It's like watching a game of political ping pong with the fate of the planet hanging in the balance. One minute he's all about investing in renewable energy, the next he's cutting subsidies for solar panels faster than you can say carbon footprint. This constant backtracking and flip-flopping isn't just bad for the environment, it's bad for business. Investors need certainty, and Sunak's constantly shifting stance on climate policy is about as reassuring as a weather forecast predicting sunshine, hailstorms, and a plague of locusts all in the same afternoon. The bottom line is this: climate change is the single biggest challenge facing our generation, and we need leaders who are willing to take bold and decisive action. Unfortunately, with his constant U-turns and half-hearted commitments, Rishi Sunak doesn't exactly inspire confidence that he's up to the task. Let's be honest, folks, Rishi Sunak has become a bit of a political pinata. And much like that poor papier-mâché donkey, he's been getting whacked from all sides. The Labour Party's having a field day, obviously, painting him as an out-of-touch elitist who's more concerned with the plight of his hedge fund buddies than the average Brit struggling to put food on the table. But it's not just the opposition giving him grief. The Conservative right is getting in on the action too, grumbling about his supposed lack of true blue Tory credentials. They see him as too moderate, too willing to compromise, basically not enough of a raging bulldog in a bespoke suit. And yet, despite all this, Sunak remains clinging to power like a limpet on a particularly stubborn rock. Calls for a general election. Nah, mate. Resigning out of a sense of decency and acknowledging that maybe, just maybe, he's not the right person for the job. Don't make me laugh. This refusal to relinquish control, despite the growing chorus of discontent, has only further solidified his image as someone who's more interested in self-preservation than serving the people. And frankly, in a democracy, that's not a good look. Now, let's talk about Sunak's levelling up agenda, shall we? This was his flagship policy, the grand plan to bridge the gap between the wealthy South and the often neglected North. It was supposed to be his crowning achievement, the policy that cemented his legacy as a man of the people, a champion of the working class. Instead, it's become yet another example of Sunak's tendency to overpromise and underdeliver. See, on paper, the levelling up agenda sounded great. More investment in infrastructure, more support for businesses, more opportunities for people in left-behind communities. Who wouldn't be on board with that? The problem is, when it came to actually implementing these grand plans, the reality fell far short of the rhetoric. The promised funding often failed to materialize, the initiatives were bogged down in bureaucracy, and the impact on the ground was, to put it mildly, underwhelming. It's like ordering a three-course meal and being presented with a single, slightly wilted lettuce leaf. Disappointing doesn't even begin to cover it, and the result? Well, not only has Sunak failed to bridge the North-South divide, he's arguably made it worse. The gap in living standards persists, the economic disparities remain, and the sense of disillusionment among those who were promised so much has only deepened. So there you have it, a glimpse into the world of Rishi Sunak and his less than stellar track record. From his mishandling of public services to his constantly shifting climate policies and his grand yet ultimately empty levelling up agenda, it's clear that Sunak's time in office has been marked by more missteps than a drunken tightrope walker. That's a wrap on why Rishi Sunak's policies are seen as failures. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below.
you. Thank you. So, Noswaith Welsh Conservatives. Yeah. As you can see in this leadership contest, I've been doing that, right? I haven't been saying the easy things, and actually, I'm prepared to lose this contest.
You've had to clarify your wife's non-dom status. You held permanent residency in the United States while you were setting the taxes of British voters, which is what a green card means. You're building a swimming pool at your constituency home while the public pool in Richmond is facing closure after a 400% energy hike. This has all led to a perception problem for you. People feel that you can't walk a mile in their shoes because you're walking in your Prada shoes. What would you say to them?
Over the past couple of weeks, right, I've been out and about across the country talking to members of the public. And as I was saying, lots of people have come to talk to me about that press conference and furlough and what difference it made to their lives. Do you know, I was wearing the same suit in that press conference, the same shoes as that I'm wearing now, right? I'm the same person.
How much were they worth?
Yeah.
They're very slick.
I'm exactly the same person.
I've been told to bring you some food that apparently you ordered.
We actually haven't. Yeah, no, we one possibly. I don't know that's not.
Is that what you ordered?
No.
You're kidding me. Is it a veg katsu curry? Or a regular chicken katsu curry?
No, they're not ours. Yeah, I'm vegan. I think this is the one.
Oh, this is vegan.
We're both vegan.
I have friends who are aristocrats, I have friends who are upper class, I have friends who are, working class, but I'm not working class, but...
What is the one item when you hit the supermarket you've noticed going up in prices most? For me, it's crisps.
Oh, yes. Well, it's probably... I think bread probably is the thing.
How much has that gone up?
Well, the one that we buy, I'm sure now it's about £1.20 and it was about £1 from memory, but it was before. But
what is it out of interest?
What's
your favourite loaf?
It's a Hovis, it's a kind of seeded thing. We have a whole range of different, we all have different breads in my house.
I'm a Coke addict, total Coke addict. Coca-Cola addict. Yes, I was going to say, just for the record, just be totally clear. Earned this today, I hope.
I managed to start changing the funding formulas to make sure that areas like this are getting the funding that they deserve. Because we inherited a bunch of formulas from the Labour Party that shoved all the funding into deprived urban areas, and that needed to be undone. I started the work of undoing that.
Is this all together? Yeah, all together.
One scan then for me?
Yeah, I know you ordered it. Yeah. My fingers over the back. That's over.
Can you unite the party, Rishi Sunak? Can you unite the party, Prime Minister?